Cherry Jones representing the Ghana you love.
Rescue us from NDC, please. And we ballin', ballin'. People ballin', ballin'. Poor people suffering. They can't take it again. Oh Lord, put a hand. Save us from Nazim and Tillman. We down on we knees. Rescue us from NDC, please. And we ballin', ballin'. People ballin', ballin'. Poor people suffering. They can't take it again. Say we made a mistake. And for 4 years we failed. We vote incompetence, hoping for directions. Is don't leave a canal like a set of schoolgirls. While the country sinking, them handicaps can't do nothing. Oh Lord, put a hand, save us from Nazim and Tillman.
This is where I take the opportunity to say good afternoon, Grenada, Carriacou, PD Martinique.
Ballin'.
And how are we doing this afternoon?
Poor people suffer.
God's blessings to each and every one of you guys.
Oh
It is another class in session program. Definitely, we are going to be having our conversation this evening. We are right now within the Spice Island of Grenada, Carriacou, and PD Martinique. We want to say good evening to you.
That is your direction.
Don't forget, tomorrow afternoon we are at the McDonald's College, St. Patrick's West. We are coming, the New National Party public meeting. We roll over to St. Patrick's on Wednesday evening, starting from 6:30 in the afternoon. You know how we do it on a Wednesday, right? The New National Party rolls on, moves on, as we continue in the effort to rescue Grenada from a set of incompetent, lazy persons in whom we would have placed
Teachers can't sleep
the safety of our country in their hands.
No consideration for the poor man. Every day is more lie. We fed up on mama guy. They ain't had no vision. It's like a set of dumb. Oh Lord, put a hand. Save us from Nazim and Tillman. We down on we knees. Rescue us from NDC, please. And we ballin'. People ballin'. Poor people suffering. They can't take it again. Oh Lord, save us from Nazim and Tillman. Mr. Adrian Samasa, the new year just passed we never in we history. Carnival gone so long till we can get we money. With them culture vultures like Glenn and Persuader. I hear him mortgage pay off. So the rich he can't talk. Oh Lord, put a hand. Save us from Nazim and Tillman.
So this is where we take it on, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start our conversations this afternoon. I'm hoping that each and every one of you guys would have had yourself another wonderful day, and at this stage we just want to start by asking each and every one of you guys to continue to extend within prayers for the folks out there in Jamaica. We know what is happening out there at present. I am certain that many of us, it's still registered in our mind, the experience of Hurricane Ivan, and just to imagine that they might, or they are, not might, but they are actually facing an even worse condition than we are presently now. Yes, I just want you guys to, in mind, focus on all the great things that they would have done for us. And the government of Jamaica, in many ways, have not just assisted the party per se, but the government of Grenada was also assisted in many ways and many occasions by our folks out there in Jamaica. So keep them in your prayers, and I'm hoping that everything works out for the best for each and every one of them. Yes. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it brings us to the start of our conversation. And well, just before we jump into our conversation, we want to remind persons in terms of getting registered. And we cannot share or send that sentiment out there much more in reminding persons that they ought to get registered. And there is a fundraising luncheon. All in proceeds will go towards urgently needed knee repair surgery for Melissa, coincident, There is chicken, fish, and pork served with rice and green salad, scalloped potatoes, and sauteed vegetable. It is a delivery that can be happening in the tongue of St. George and Grand Anse. It is on the 31st, 2025. Yes, you can call to order. The contact numbers are 420-5556 or 410-4745. Yeah, so there's a fundraising activity in the efforts to assist the individual, Melissa, sorry. Yes? Now, we also want to remind many of you guys to get registered. Get registered, and we are asking that if there are young persons around you that are presently new voters, please encourage them to go get registered and make sure they check the list, make sure they pick up the items, like the voter's ID and so on. We want to remind persons thereof. Yes? And I know it has been on social media for the past few days. We have seen our political leader in so many important engagements. Recently, we would have seen one where I think the IMF, I believe, was here, and the conversation, or one of the international monetary organizations was here, and the conversations was held at the NNP headquarters. Yes, and the involvement of Brother Bowen and Brother Oliver Joseph, you know, getting persons involved, and that's the kind of leadership, you know, we don't want when we get there, it is a shock to us. We have already made all these things, you know, available to us in terms of information. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to start today's conversation, and you see, sometimes when you point out incompetence, many persons tend to believe that you're doing it on a political basis. And today we saw, and I want to put it that way, in its real sense, the level of slackness that is happening within our parliament here in Grenada. And when we point out that the Speaker of the House is slack, and more so the government of Grenada don't take full responsibility in those entities, they tend to believe that we hate them. But I want to read a nice piece. I want to read piece today, and that was posted by Brenda Batiste. To saw or to postpone, or to sit or to postpone, make on the fast pass in Parliament earlier today, or fax pass in the sitting earlier today. The bill must be circulated to all members of the House of Representatives 7 days before the sitting. Once the Speaker became aware first up this morning that all members were not in receipt of the bill, the Sergeant at Arms should not have placed the mace in the upper bracket, indicating that the House was properly constituted to convene the sitting. The Prime Minister was in order as he quizzed on the matter. Regrettably, he should not have been placed in that position either. The opposition should have been indicated on the motion for the new date of the sitting. That was overreached by the leader of government business. Yes, members will be served to remember the following. The House of Representatives, generally referred to as the lower house, is directly elected by the people. And although by tradition, the Senate is the upper house and the House of Representatives is the lower house, it is the House of Representatives which plays, yes, a predominant part in parliamentary system. All elected members, not some, aptly named the House of Representatives. MP Peter David should be allowed to speak on their judgment, not deferred. All members can speak on their judgment, We must ensure that we have the right talent in the right spaces. This is inept at its best. embarrassing at worst, just a bundle of mangled mess. And you see, when persons speak the truth on those issues, they believe that you are hating the government. But I am happy in the manner in which the dear sister would have placed it. And it's not a political status on her end. I am making it political because I am saying to you that all that was mentioned there in this post alone, and all that should have been known by the speaker, and then one of the most senior members of the House today, in the attempt to even speak on it, again, was deferred. Now it goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, on all ends, and they don't try to put it on the parliament or the speaker. Yes, because that is a failure of governance. Because if we have a leader of government business acting in the capacity of the government and his expectation and role and function, and let me jump into that conversation really early. Let me just jump into it. As I said to you guys, I have one computer, so ever so often, so many things that I have to. Right. So let's jump into the conversation as it relates to the role of the leader of government business. It is to manage and lead government's agenda in parliament. It is to manage and lead the government's agenda in parliament, including coordinated legislation, ensuring cabinet members fulfill their parliamentary duties, and scheduling government's business. This position, often by a senior minister or a deputy president, act as the government primary liaison with the legislator, guiding bills and other initiatives through a legislative process. So let's not just jump to the Speaker of the House just yet. Let's not just jump to the Speaker of the House. Because I know that is the first person many of us would want to grab his throat. But there is a leader of government business. And his role, ladies and gentlemen, and I started by saying, is to manage and lead government's agenda. Where? In parliament. So let's think first as it relates to a minister of government. Because he's a cabinet member. He's a parliamentarian. He's a minister of government. Right? And I'm certain he first must liaise with members of his cabinet or other colleague ministers and the parliamentary representatives. So his role and function immediately should have been to deal with members right side alongside him. So they should have had that document. And if he realized that the parliament was unable to do so, his role and function should have been to make that inquiry. So he stood today and he said that we received a document yesterday through a link. It's slackness. It is slack. It shows that you are not doing your work, sir. Because you should have never said, we received that document. You should have been the person footing to ensure that that document must be sent out within that period, within that 7 days period. And even the adjournment, ladies and gentlemen, even the adjournment still goes against the proceeds of the parliament. Because 7 days, when you check it about, it's like, okay, you get it today, 7 days from next week, you will say, or 7 days from now, you would say, okay, well, it's a week. But when you do it in its essence, it's just about 6 days. Tomorrow of today makes it 1 day. When Wednesday comes, it makes it 1 day. So don't check Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. No. They ought to get it a week before the sitting. Not a week on the date of the sitting. No. A week before or surpassing thereof. So when the leader of government business stands and says, in quote today, we received a link, it shows slackness starting there. So Mr. Prime Minister, you, even if it said that you've been placed in that position, it means, sir, that it comes down to you. The buck lies with you. The buck lies with you. So too, when things happening, certain ministries, we ought to blame the ministers. Yesterday, when I played the clip as it relates to Brother Jude Bartholomew, he says it's not the government, but it's the ministry. But the buck lies with the people who oversees. Child does something, first thing you ask, where the parent? Not the parent that do it, you know. You hear there is a pastor that commits an offense or he gets involved in something. You feel you're asking who is the pastor? You want to know which church or which denomination. So the buck lies sometime with the helm. Ever so often, when you hear of incidences of sexual offenses that surrounds the Catholic belief, you hear a person as the Catholic Church again. I'm saying this to say that you can just jump on balling or the parliament. You can just jump on ball, oh, the parliament system. There is somebody within the government who's a parliamentarian who is responsible for government business. His agenda in parliament that includes coordinating legislation. What we was trying to pass today, a bill or bills. Yeah? So it's not just taking the bill from cabinet, dropping it in parliament and say, okay, we want that passed. Or we're coming to present this in parliament and we want that sitting at that time. This is not your role, sir. You ought to ensure that every entity, be the opposition, be the speaker of the house, be the clerk, be the prime minister, all this person, and you work as a liaison. And he says he acts as the government primary liaison with legislation, guiding bills and other initiatives through a legislative process. What it means by being a legislative coordinator, the leader of government business is responsible for programming and timing all agendas or all government legislation, ensuring bills are introduced and passed smoothly through the house. So let's not just jump on the house. Liaison with the parliament. What does that mean? They are government voice, or they are the government's voice in legislators responsible for the affairs of the national executive in parliament. This includes ensuring government business is debated and that cabinet members are present to answer questions. Right? So these, ladies and gentlemen, plays a pivotal part. So we are not just jumping on the opposition not having it, you know. Yeah? We have to pay attention to whether or not, and as he agreed to, that even government members, ministers of government, cabinet members, only received it yesterday. So after realizing that we have gone past 7 days, the leader of government business, within the scope of his responsibility, should have went ahead and called the parliament or inquire from the parliament, hey, have you sent out those legislation in which cabinet would have proceeded to you in order to be debated in parliament? That is his role. That is his role. Other members, even within the ministry, should have inquired. So, cabinet sat and we said that we're going to pass some legislation. I haven't gotten it. What is the situation with that? I'm showing you the level of slackness now. I'm showing you the level of slackness. And so you came in the parliament today as the prime minister. The helm of the crook, or the crooks, and trying to blame the parliament. Therefore, even you as the Prime Minister, on realizing that you did not get that document from Parliament, should have inquired with the member of the responsible for government business. So when there is an upcoming sitting, your responsibility, what is going on? I myself haven't even received any coordinates or any information from the House of Parliament. So what is going on with that situation? Even you, oversight and accountability. I want to jump onto the other one. It says the role involves ensuring that cabinet members meet the parliamentary responsibility that the government legislation program is implemented effectively and efficiently. So I am not even going on the opposition members as yet. I am speaking only here, ladies and gentlemen, on the role of the person responsible for leader of government business. He has an obligation to oversee the role of the parliament as he works as a liaison for parliamentarians, including members of the cabinet and parliamentary representatives. Oversight and accountability. The role involves ensuring that the cabinet members meet their primary responsibility. So you want to ensure that they are there. But you are not ensuring that when they get there, that they have what they have. Scheduling and planning. They work to set a parliamentary schedule, prioritizing government priorities based on the president's goal or the speaker. They arrange meetings for the members with ministers and other stakeholders. Right? So you ought to ensure that even before, maybe you had consultation, documentation to be passed, or things like, okay, you heard about a committee that had to be drafted and all these things. All those things should have been forthcoming. All those things should have been forthcoming. And let's move on to the strategic functioning, because I want to touch on that today, ladies and gentlemen, on the basis to show you the level of incompetence, even within our parliamentary sitting here in Grenada. And we want to brush it under the seat and asking, there are persons in the comment section asking today, well, they could have sit down and debate. They should have sit down and debate. It started bad with even the seating. And as mentioned, and I was going to mention all these things, and I want to speak to Sister Brenda because I find you watching me note. Because I was a youth parliamentarian. And when the house is not in order to be seated, you ought to not mount the mace in its correct way. Because there were discussions, as mentioned by the Speaker of the House, that the opposition did speak on the issue outside of the chambers as it relates to their displeasure, as to the time and manner that they got the document. So he knew even going into the sitting that there were discrepancies within the House. And so the mace, since mounted, the Prime Minister would have known what is going on. So the Prime Minister was making inquiries even out of ignorance. Can you imagine that? Even out of ignorance. So you mean the leader of government business don't know, the Prime Minister don't know, and even the Speaker of the House, who knew that there was a conversation that would have helped or basically had questions or queries. Papi Shaw, it placed the Prime Minister in a dumbbell position, because persons that he should have been oversighting came in the House of Parliament and embarrassed you, because you went there because you don't know. You were unaware that you don't know. You went inside there blindly. You thought you were going to debate. You standing and you're starting to make inquiries and you're making, and the speaker is saying to you, well, yes, the opposition is correct. Yeah, they should have. Strategic functions, leader of government business, that is what attacking today. Coming there and making the Speaker of the House, I know you know good, but let's deal with it. Let's deal with it right here. Let's see where it starts. Because at the end of the day, if the contractor did not pass instruction to the workers, if you come and you're causing the workers, you ain't causing nobody. Because the contractor should have said, listen to me, as the person said they want that tiles they want that window so, they want that door so. So you come in and cause the workers is a waste of time because they are working on the instructions of the contractor, and if the contractor did not pass information to them, then what you expect them to do? Strategic alignment. The leader helps align government legislation agenda with the broader strategic priorities and electoral mandates. And then them song in big. Don't worry, I will break it down for you. That's what the class session is about, to break them down. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, all what they're saying here, those legislative agendas, the bills that were placed forward in cabinet, it started there. Remember, those bills that are tabled or that are going to be tabled would only be known by the opposition or any other stakeholder or any other member within there only until cabinet discuss and decide they're going to bring forward. Yes? And so persons like the Attorney General and all these persons, they are within a room and they're discussing and they're deciding, okay, this is the bill that we want to put forward. And so the person responsible for government business must play a pivotal role. He must be there. He must be there. So at the end of the day, when that is agreed by cabinet and say, this is what we would like to be tabled, bill number 1, bill number 2, whatever. Therefore, his role and function thereafter is to take what information from cabinet legislatively to be passed through a proper process through parliament, through opposition members, stakeholders, be it legal counsels, whoever it is. So that is the process that takes on thereafter. That they are aware, they know this is what cabinet is wanting to table. This is the legislation. These are the things that we want to bring forward. Yeah? And that must be done through a proper process. Problem solving. They are responsible for addressing issues and finding solutions that balances the diverse needs of the population with government policies and highlighting them. So even before, ladies and gentlemen, hence the reason why I say even the mace should not have been mounted. Right? And so when the opposition brought up the issue, and he was asked by the speaker, he therefore had to address, because I'm certain the issue of the opposition would have been raised by the speaker through the leader of government business. So he would have known, therefore, that even when going to the seat, he should have informed the colleagues, hello, we have an issue or discrepancy. Even maybe outside of the chambers, we have an issue, the opposition stating that the document that they would have gotten is not within the timely manner that they are supposed to have gotten it. And so you therefore then have to say, when standing up, at least as the leader of government business, this is a problem that we would have encountered. And so we do acknowledge that it is within the speaker's realm that he makes a decision. And so we believe that is the stance that will be taken. And so they are seeking adjournment. And then the date of adjournment should have been one that should have been the next thing on the agenda as a conversation. Because you ought to have debate on its nature. Because look at when we get it, look at when the next sitting is, and so we're wondering if that is ample time to be able to discuss. You understand me? So whatever problems that would have arisen, it should have been dealt with through the leader of government business. Adaptability. The role requires the leader to be able to adapt to changing circumstances and guide the government through potential ambitious situations. Yeah? And so, since before the Prime Minister sit and inquire, so even when what baffled me most, whether or not the issue that was brought up by the opposition was ever brought to the attention of any member on the government side. That is where I'm heading now towards the Speaker of the House. Because the way they stood and was inquiring, as if when the opposition brought it up, it was the first time they heard it. That is how they all acted. If you notice them, they acted like, because the leader of government business want to address it, the Prime Minister want to address it. Everybody want to know, have a hold on it. Yeah? Because they all acted as if, what's going on here? We don't know. And then the Prime Minister stands up and he's inquiring. And I myself, with the little knowledge that I have, I am baffled. Ladies and gentlemen, I was baffled. Because I am standing there, I'm sitting there today, and I'm wondering, so wait. The Prime Minister didn't know? So I really wanted to get to the point where the Prime Minister addressed it. Hold on, let me make sure my hands fall on it. Let's see if I hear it.
The Committee of Privileges, right, needs to be in place because of what has been happening with the FROC's inability to function because the committee is not in place. So the idea is to get done what is urgent, Honorable Prime Minister, and then to seek an adjournment, yeah, for the bills and I think the resolutions. That's my understanding.
Yeah, well, Mr. Speaker, that's the point I'm making. We hear that has not been communicated to anybody. I don't know that. And I still think there's a more fundamental point. If Parliament was not properly constituted, respectfully, this is not the first sitting. So I'm not clear as to whether or not the notice has been waived. So to my mind, you can't say I'm submitting to the jurisdiction and then I'm objecting to the jurisdiction. So what I want to find out from you, Mr. Speaker, procedurally, is whether or not, in light of my understanding of the issue that was raised, whether or not this is a sitting of Parliament.
It is.
And therefore, we are saying that the notice issue is not an issue.
It is.
And I just wanted to play the piece just to make you guys be aware as to, sorry for the feedback, as to what the Prime Minister is saying and what the Speaker of the House is saying. Yeah? Because he's seen it as an issue. He's seen it as a non-issue. Yeah? He's seen it as a non-issue. He's standing and saying, I don't even know. I am not even aware that this issue was raised. Right? Now, what baffles me even further is the leader of government business. Hold on. Get in there. Get in there. Hoping that is it a bit. Let me see if I get it.
So it's really the leader of government business. If members don't feel comfortable, then a motion may be put to the floor and we adjourn. Yeah. So it's really the next item is 14 motions. I now wait on the leader of government business.
May I miss this?
No, just hold. Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, having only received these documents officially from the Parliament of Grenada yesterday.
This is the piece that stresses me out. The leader of government business even standing and said, he received it. So this man wasn't even inquiring about, okay, sitting coming up, I don't get the document. Go on.
The 27th of October, on a link that points us to a number of other documents, not all pertaining to this particular sitting. And considering the fact, Mr. Speaker, that in order to properly debate these bills and resolutions, members must have the information at least 7 days prior. I now move that this Honorable House.
I ended right there. So, he's aware now and sounding all intelligent about the information that members should have been given the time and all these things. He's now mentioning those things after the fact. So my question is whether or not he knew prior to the sitting that this is the order of the House. Whether he knows this is the way in which the process must happen. It baffles me. And ladies and gentlemen, just before I go forward, I just want to inform you guys as it relates to the new national party that they will be holding a press conference tomorrow at the headquarters of the party office. Yes, that would be on Wednesday the 10th. So we have a lot of NNP tomorrow. Yeah. So there is a live stream of a press conference that would be held tomorrow. So you guys, while even speaking to you guys, you know, this information is coming in. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, why am I addressing this? It's to show us here in Grenada, again, brings me to my point as to what takes priority in the eyes of these men and women that are given the mandate to control the process of our state. You have those who does not know what their responsibilities are. Imagine the person at the helm, Prime Minister. First time hearing about it, you hear him say it. First time hearing about that. And you have a leader of government business. And then after realizing that the crux of the matter lies within not what you say, but it lies within the rules and regulation that constitutes the parliament. And he can't override it. Start to debate. Well, even if we want to know whether or not it's an issue. Yes, it is an issue. Because what he was trying to say, okay, he wasn't aware that, okay, they had to, the notes was an issue. And the Speaker of the House said, yes, it's constitutionally correct that they received those documents 7 days prior. And not realizing that, yes, it's a rule, it's a fact. He's asking whether or not it's a sitting. And he should not have been asking the question. And that's the reason why I said, since the sergeant of arms walked in, the mounting of the mace should have indicated that there was an issue in the house. And so the leader of government business, maybe all the members would have sat there and wonder, why is the mace mounted like that? So the leader of government business therefore should have stood and said, based on conversation through the Speaker of the House, members of the opposition are stating that they have received the notes or documents in less than the stipulated time constituted by the House of Parliament. And so, at this stage, it would be, you know, wrong or unconstitutional to have a parliament sitting when there was a breach in the constitution that have been placed within the Honorable House. So, as a leader of government business, and having had discussions with the Speaker, we therefore ask for an adjournment. Nothing has had to speak in the House, because it would have never been labeled as another sitting. So with the Speaker of the House mentioning that it is another sitting, he was incorrect. But then again, he allowed the Sergeant of Arms to mount the mace in a way that he believed, or made the House believe, that the sitting was okay. Yeah? And so, let me, because I know maybe I brought some people's mind in some kind of quandary, right? So, the sergeant, let me just explain to you maybe through words and maybe definition, because I want to make sure we're on the right page. Even I am on the right page, disseminating the information, because I'm speaking also what I know. So maybe if you get some form of documentation or some form of information from another source, you'll understand what I'm saying. All right. So let me get. So, incorrectly placing or moving the mace in the House of Parliament indicates a major disruption. Since the mace is a symbol of the body authority, without the mace in its correct position, the assembly cannot legally sit, debate, or pass laws. Now, don't call me the brightest boy in the room. I just knew what I was speaking about. Yeah? What I was speaking about was based on just knowing, like the knowledge I have on that. But I'm just reading now so that you understand what I'm speaking about. It goes on to say the mace is a symbol. The mace represents the authority of the monarch, which has been delegated to legislate. It's also the symbol of the speaker or the presiding officer authority. Action that disturbs authority. Seizing or otherwise moving the mace is a physical protest against the authority of parliament and the government. The offended member is typically suspended from the house or for the rest of the day or whatever it is. Yeah? So, ladies and gentlemen, there are times when the mounting of the mace indicates a disruption. So it means that the sitting in itself, like today, it could have not been mounted. It could have been said to have been stayed or remained with the sergeant of arms. He could have stood there with it in his hand. Yeah? He could have placed it not within the holding area, but maybe rested on the side. Something that indicates to the house, yes, that there is a disruption in the house today, that the house is not properly seated. Right? So when the Speaker of the House stated that the sitting, that it is an actual sitting, he would have indicated to the house through the Sergeant of Arms that it's a sitting, but rightfully it should not have been that. It rightfully should not have been that. It should have indicated that, hey, there have been disruption in the court, in the parliament, and this is the reason for it. And then the leader of government business, with this indication, and should have been informed by the speaker, because the opposition members, as indicated by the speaker, did say that there were issues. So the speaker knew that there were issues and disruption. And they were right within the Constitution in terms of the date given and the time span. Yeah? Now, even the leader of government business acknowledging that the time span and the time received was on the 27th, 1 day or maybe hours. Because I don't know on the actual time they received it. Then the speaker speaks to the leader of government business. He indicates to the House why there shouldn't be a sitting today, and they move into the adjournment. So a set of incompetence would have happened today, and the buck lies with members of the ministry responsible. It lies with the leader of government business, and moreover, it lies with the Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou, and P.T. Martin. Because even him, being a member of the parliament, being the parliamentary representative, should have indicated to the leader of government business, on realizing that it is a 7 days period, where maybe I don't even know if he knows that this is a piece of the constitutional law, or maybe rules, but on realizing that, hey, look, we have gone past 7 days. I haven't seen anything. I haven't received anything. It means, have the other members received anything? Did the opposition receive anything? No, those questions posed within the Honorable House, or to the government, to the minister responsible for leader of government business, therefore would have said yes or no, and then he, as the Prime Minister, should have said, come on, man, let's get that done. But you see, when you put the cat in front, and then you tie the horse in the back, and you're beating the cat, expecting it to go, then the horse is going to turn in the next direction and run with the cat. So when you expect the cat to be going that way, the horse that it should be leading it is going to lead it in the direction wherever you want to go. Yeah? So when you're out there flaunting and your cabinet would have met on legislation and it should be passed, instead of inquiring, you're frolicking. So we saw the incompetence and irresponsibility of the leader of government business. We saw the continued incompetence of the Speaker of the House. And we saw the poor leadership of the Prime Minister on full display today. Ladies and gentlemen, when I speak of the incompetence of this organization or this administration, I ain't joking. I could bring facts to you on it. Time and time again. Time and time again. I'm baffled. And I say to you, the little knowledge I have being a youth parliamentarian, I was baffled. Because I'm listening to folks that are expected to know. And man, you see, again, even the role that should have been given to the most senior person, or the most senior member, when you look at it again, the Papi Show, I think Mr. Andal should have been the appropriate person. Then again, that is my opinion. Because I like good representation and imagery when we're sending it out there. Imagine somebody who knows better looking at this and say, Big Menso in the Caribbean, Grenada. Sad. But ladies and gentlemen, today I decided again to address an issue where all leaders continue to give us the hold on, wait a coming kind of behavior. In recent weeks, moreover about a month, we have heard as it relates to the visa ban, and even one member of parliament, minister of government, whose visa was restricted by the United States. Not too long thereafter, we heard the conversation of the probable banning of exporting of our fish. Both occasions, government gave a we would address, we are addressing sort of way and conversation. One that involved the fisher folks, they would have had a meeting. And again, the minister responsible stated that legislation and cabinet and whatever laws and whatever he mentioned would have been a conversation that is forthcoming. Now, I believe that through the form of communication, and I could remember stating that, or learning, not stating, but learning that there are three forms of communication. Sender, receiver, feedback. Sender, receiver, feedback. So the message came as it relates to the ban and the visa restriction from the sender. It was received by the government of Grenada. They acted on what was received. So in the process of communication, if I send you something, and I said to you, when you get this $100, please buy me 14 pounds of sugar. And when you buy it, you have to send it on a bus or a plane or a truck, whatever. The important thing thereafter is to do what? Act on the feedback. Whether or not you received it, whether or not you got it, maybe it's cost, and then say to me that it's coming, it's on its way. And then when I receive it, I ought to call you back and say, you know what? Hey bro, I received the stuff, I got the stuff that you sent to me. After telling me that he was coming, even if you tell me he's coming, what truck, where you go drop it, I received it. So the important thing is giving the feedback. But ladies and gentlemen, we have seen time and time again with this administration that it ends at receiving. And every time they say to us, we're going to give you an update, we're going to give you a feedback, we're going to tell you what is up. The Prime Minister, at the end of the Heroes Day event, briefly mentioned to a journalist that he would address the issue of the request made by the United States within just about a week. It was then published that it would not be a I said yes or I said no, but I would be just mentioning the things or what was said or whatever. He then mentioned that it would have been happening in Parliament. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it goes to show that, again, the slackness. He would have mentioned that he was going to address it in Parliament. Still not even inquiring whether all the procedures was happening or would have happened for the Parliament to be seated and seated properly. And so again, we may have to wait, or maybe we may hear it on DM with the PM, where no one is in a position to question or ask anything on an official ground or basis. So my query is, what is or has been the state of the visa ban, the visa restriction, the fish banning, the probable one that is discarded to take effect on the 1st of January of next year, and then the U.S. request conversation. What is the state? Give us a feedback. Let we know. Or you tell us. Oh, Lord. Let us know. Tell us now. But I guess, again, as is with this administration, they are going to speak when they feel like speaking. They're going to let us know when they feel like letting us know. Amazing, eh? It's amazing. But, as the old saying goes, it is what it is. Reflecting on Dr. Mitchell, he was placed in those positions. I am certain that every media host would have been at his office, at his parliamentary office, at the Botanical Garden, in his private house, when he driving through town, if the meeting coming out from a funeral. Anyway, to ask the question, they would have gone to do it. Wrong is no more as to who does it, or what is being done, Wrong is no more what is being done, but it's who does it. So I could kill somebody, and I wrong. Mr. So-and-so could have done it, or would do it, and they will say, I think they should let him go. I continue to also make a clarion call on the behalf of our young folks in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. I posted recently that I spoke with 2 young voters, not yet casted a ballot, and we spoke. And I encourage them to exercise their rights, and I converse with them as to, what you look for in government, or so on, so forth. And one of them mentioned to me that, and a young lady stated to me that she's seeing too much of young men drinking and in violence and so on and so forth. Now, by the time the next general election, I'm talking about, I think by February of next year, both would be 18. So they would be legal to to vote. And she stated that to me, and we had a conversation, we deliberated on it. And ladies and gentlemen, I think the primary thing here is to look at is that government is not engaging young people. Government is not engaging young people. And that is what that is what lies within it. Because every time you put out, oh, there is a this day, and oh, there is a that day, and that there is a... You see, a lot of young people don't even follow up on the politics through the level of media like that. One said to me when I said to her, I do a political podcast. She was like, well, where are you looking for that on Instagram? Where? She was inquiring. And it shows that they want a one-on-one. They want people come, like, they want the conversations happening there. I remember in the past with Roy and Bihari, who was a youth coordinator. And ever so often, they get their hands dirty. They're out in the field, they're there. I remember being a youth debater. And even, as I said to you at the time, Ms. Spear held the position as youth minister. And even during rehearsals at the St. Mark's Secondary School, she was there at the school, looking on, listening. Young people are a different type of people. You just show something on social media, oh, we're asking persons to register for that. And no, this is not how the NNP did it. We got interactive. We met with them. We spoke with them. We got interactive with them. We wanted to know their business, what affects them. And so at every given time, we attempted to ensure that we met their needs. Here's the reason why we had several programs in place. Because we decided that the Imani program was not targeting every gender. And so we introduced other programs. We realized that programs were not targeting those that believe that they had a conviction. And we created a program for that. We realized there were those that was extrovert. They would have come out and they would have talked. And so we introduced the youth parliament and youth debate. And so every time we interacted with youth or youths, we got a new idea, a new initiative was brought forward because they wanted that hands-on. We cannot take one program and believe it's going to target all young people. We targeted persons who believe that this is where I am, that this is my talent. This is what I can do. You're an artist. You can sing. I have a conviction, you know, get locked up, you know, boy. How I could deal with that? We gave young people a fighting chance with committees where they can debate after a certain time that whether or not this person's conviction could have been lifted to have an opportunity again in life. So it was not just picking the rows and giving them. We let them know that there are going to be tons, but however, you ought to be careful as to how you hold them. So I'm making a clarion call on behalf of our young people in Grenada that this administration take an active role in knowing what our young people really want. Addressing their main issues and their critical issues. Not jumping to them when the election come around and telling them, oh, vote for us, we're going to do that and we're going to do this. We're hearing allegations as it relates to the probable closure of the Imani program. In the coming days and weeks, we may hear more. Because they have been having meetings with individuals, supervisors, and so on. So many programs, Youth Bees. May his soul rest in peace. Youth Bees just went down the drain. Buildings and different infrastructures were placed to ensure that our young people get into it. young man who believed that he had a drug-related offense and he could not have made it, might be looking for a job after changing his life around. We made those things possible for them. Here in Grenada, we have a few missing ministries. SOS, several ministries in Grenada. Youth being one of them. There have been not much youth participation and involvement in many areas here in Grenada. They have not been. Young people are not getting their hands dirty and involved in many sectors in Grenada. There are private entities that have been basically cushioning the effect for some, but many are not being reached. The Minister of Youth posting that I was walking with the Prime Minister and somebody say, a long time did I see somebody walk the road. Papi show. Papi show. Who could have gotten their hands dirty more than the NNP ministers and Prime Minister? Man could have been seen playing domino, cricket, conversations. Many times you traveled abroad before and you tell persons and you show people videos as it relates to the Prime Minister, they're telling you, hey, so he moving or so, you just walking, so people are doing nothing. Come in and talk about first time you see somebody walk. Papi show. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of today's programming. I am happy to again have been here and be able to disseminate such information to you. God's blessings to each and every one of you guys. Don't forget we have the press conference in the morning at 10. Tune in, it's a live stream. Later on in the evening, we're at St. Patrick's West. And on the 31st, which is this Friday, there is a luncheon to aid in the assistance of an individual that has to go through a knee process medically. And so there is a luncheon that is going on. We're asking you to make your order. The number, I would have given it out a while ago. Let me just see if I get that information again to give you guys. So that number again is 420-5556 or 410-4745. Yes, support a worthy cause. There is delivery that is going to be happening in the Tongue of St. George and Grand Anse. All right, I think that's going to be my lunch on Friday. All right, so do have yourself a blessed one, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to do what is right to ensure that we regain governance in this country. We ask of you to continue getting registered, check with your voters list, encourage somebody to get registered and cast a ballot come the next general election. Thank you guys so very much. Have yourself a blessed evening and see you again tomorrow.
Sherry Jones representing the Ghana you love.
Rescue us from NBC, please. And we ballin', ballin'. People ballin', ballin'. Poor people suffering. They can't take it again. Oh Lord, put a hand. Save us from Nazim and Tillman. We down on we knees. Rescue us from NBC, please. And we ballin', ballin'. People ballin', ballin'. Poor people suffering. They can't take it again. Say we made a mistake. And for 4 years we failed. We vote incompetence, hoping for directions. Is don't leave a canal like a set of school girls while the country sinking. Them handicaps can't do nothing, nothing. Oh Lord, put a hand. Save us from Nazim and Tillman. We down on we knees. Rescue us from NBC, please. And we ballin', ballin'. People ballin', ballin'. Poor people suffering. They can't take it again. Teachers can't sleep in peace. Nurses sent home with ease. No consideration for the poor man. Every day is more lie. We fed up on mama guy. They ain't had no vision. It's like a set of dumb. Oh Lord, put a hand. Save us from Nazim and Tillman. We down on we knees. Rescue us from NPC, please. And we ballin'. People ballin'. Poor people suffering. They can't take it again. Oh Lord, save us from Nazim and Tillman. Mr. Adrian Thomas, the new year just passed we never in we